Welcome back to another Trade Odds technical analysis update. We're going to obviously look at Bitcoin, some of the crazy price action that we've continued to see in this market, and maybe do an altcoin or two and give you a little bit of a bot update. So with that being said, let's get to the video. So before I do the Bitcoin update, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up on Rose, which is an altcoin that I covered in the previous stream or the previous video. The last market update I gave was on January 14th. And on that day, you can see we're pushing above this channel. And I was I was a bit concerned. Obviously, we were coming into, Fibonacci resistance. We actually pushed above slightly. I'm trying to remember if there was a pivot. So there was a yearly pivot here that we pushed up into, but I'm pretty sure this was a monthly pivot as well. Let me just take a look. Yep. So your R2 monthly pivot. So again, you saw the R1 yearly pivot up there. But then your R2 monthly pivot. So again, you have like even pivot confluence as far as, potentially looking for, let me just delete this so you can see it, but literally a perfect rejection off of your R2 monthly pivot outside of channel resistance, which by the way, like this channel has been phenomenally respected, right? So we got above it, and what I was concerned about, so if you go on a lower time frame, what I was concerned about was having a potential deviation, which is what we got. And this is a crystal clear short. Congratulations to everybody in VIP who took this short, by the way. I know there was quite a few of you who caught this move, so very well done. And now you're not always going to get this insane follow through that we've seen, obviously, but this trade was here. It was very easy to take, clear as day. Coming up into, previously before we broke out, again, finding resistance here. So let me zoom in. Finding resistance at the top of the channel. Exactly. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Price pulls back, range bound for a little bit before ultimately breaking through the top of the channel. And then, again, comes right up to your pivot. So there was some fib extension levels that were just below this coming, like it was pretty clear that we're pushing above like major resistance. So that could be very bullish. Obviously, like we could have seen continuation to much higher levels, but the fact that this fell back within the channel in the fashion that it did, pretty clear deviation for those of you who are in VIP again. Range trading video 5, we talk about deviations. This is the same thing. Like this certainly applies. It's the same thought process there behind it. And as soon as we get the deviation confirmed back in the channel, rejection, rejection, price backs off, comes back up, tries to give it another go, right? And this is your short opportunity all day long, because your invalidation is simply if we start pushing back above the channel, then you would exit that trade. It's very simple, and like phenomenal risk reward because you don't have to risk a lot to find out if you're wrong on this trade. But again, comes back up, can't get back above the channel, and then boom. And I mean, from your high at the pivot to the low, 53% within a week. 53% down. To show you how this looks on a daily. And yeah, the market has come down significantly, obviously. But this setup was right here ready for you at, again, like the 16th, very clear setup. But where are you finding support? Crazy enough, right? S1 pivot sitting down here. That's pretty close to the channel, but more importantly, the channel, right? So let me just delete this. That way there's a few less lines. Right at the bottom of your channel. Crazy enough. How that technical analysis works sometimes. But, any time that Rose has been at the bottom of this channel, it's been a pretty good buy. So not surprising, seeing a reaction off of here. But considering how current market looks overall, I would be very careful. Another thing to look for, there is some support below here, especially this macro value area high at 25 cents. If price starts to break below this channel, which it's been in this channel for a while, right? If price starts to break below this channel, especially losing this macro value area high, this can really go. So you already had a 50% dump off the high. It's an altcoin. These things happen. If you've been in the market, you've been in crypto long enough, you'll know. You have seen this move more than once, unfortunately. Or fortunately, obviously, if you caught that. But that's what I'll say next. A bounce off of this region, not surprising. Bitcoin's also coming into a bit of support, but it's been a very anemic bounce at best, right? Like there's certainly, which I'll get into the Bitcoin analysis here in just a second. But as far as Rose goes, bottom of the channel support, it's support until it's not. This, if you're going to take a shot, this is the area to do it. But I would be very careful considering what's happening in the broader market. A relief bounce, just using a fib, even back up to your 382, that would be a pretty nice bounce. The severity of this move, how quick it took place, you could get a pretty solid bounce, especially if Bitcoin's able to find some footing, find its footing here in this region. You could see, a lot of alts are probably going to have pretty nice snapbacks, to be fair. But I would just, I'll exercise caution. Definitely, I would be very aware of your risk management and make sure that you're managing your trade appropriately. And because this is a very dangerous region to trade. But support is support. Coming into it, if the trade's there, you take it. Clear invalidation for me would be losing this channel. I think losing this channel would be a big deal. Could it end up being a deviation like it was at the top? It's possible. I think that's a bit less likely, especially if we start to lose these supports below. You start to get acceptance, lose these supports. I think it's going to be pretty bad. So for Rose anyway. But that's your Rose update. Let's go to Bitcoin. All right, so here's Bitcoin USD on a daily time frame. Oh my. Straight down, basically from, coming up to your range high, forming your range high, getting that deviation to the upside, and then basically straight down since. We had a month-long range here. That's probably where I'm going to start from, is kind of like talk you through how we got to where we are. And even coming into these lows, you'll see when I break down, there's a few levels here that I can, that I'll get into. But no real strong reaction yet. Obviously, it's the weekend as well, so not that many people are trading at the moment. But we are coming into a very, very important region that you definitely, if you're bullish and you're bullish and you want to see a push to the upside, you definitely want to see these levels held. So let me see. Basically, so here's your range value area low for those of you in VIP, which, by the way, if you're considering joining VIP, please don't until the first, because the way that Patreon does it, which I absolutely hate, doesn't matter when you join in the month, they charge everybody on the first. So there's only a week left in the month. Please don't. I think there might be a couple spots left. I don't actually know off the top of my head, but I will be closing VIP down though. Like I said in the previous stream, so I'm capping it at the 100 that's there. But anyway, we lost range value area low, and this is from 2021, literally the entire year. So basically coming up as we pushed into make our 42K high here way back in January, literally all of this price action in this massive giant range that we're ending up trading in, which by the way, I'm pretty excited. If you go back to some of my early videos, technical analysis videos that I did way back here, I was actually looking for this as a really good possibility to actually trade a range like this. So it's kind of interesting to see it come to fruition. But the question is, if we do approach these range lows, do we hold or do we continue ranging? So I have a feeling we might find out. But anyway, weak reaction here so far, not the best. But we lost range value area low, again, of basically this entire chart that you see. This is a very important level. And currently, again, for those in VIP, range trading video 5 that we just threw out there, and we're in the range trading series right now, so this should be very familiar to you. And we obviously had a 2.5 hour live stream earlier today as well, where we went over this. But the next real area of interest, if you're just trading this strictly as a range, is 28K. I mean, you're looking back to potentially revisit these range lows. I'm well aware that there's a CME gap coming up, basically between 32K, 33K. There's a CME gap there. There's also some pretty important supports, which again I'll get into in just a minute. I'm well aware of all that, but I'm just saying from a range trading perspective, if you're looking for rotations, we got our rotation to the upside. And now if we come back down to test the range low that's been in place for the last 13 months, you can see how critical of an area this is. If we push down and lose this range low and start to get acceptance, like we start to close daily candles, like looking at this chart, I would probably use daily candles. You might be able to get it on something even like a 4 hour or something, because like you don't want to be spending any real time below here. If we do break the range low, if we get a strong, I'm expecting you probably get a pretty decent amount of follow through. But if you see like a strong wick and then a quick reclaim of this range low, that to me would be pretty bullish actually, especially if we like took out all these lows that you see here, quick move down but a really strong buyback, and then let's say like the day closes anywhere above this range low, that would be very bullish. And then you could talk about, honestly, like all of these levels would become come into play again, in my opinion. How likely do I think that's to happen? Not that likely. But it's, again, like looking at it from, for a potential trade, that if that happened, that's how I would trade that. And, again, getting acceptance back into here, there's your long. Stop loss is probably below whatever wick low that is. And then you're looking for you're probably looking for some pretty significant follow through if that were to happen. So anyway, like that's kind of like one thing to pay attention to. Again, we literally had another full rotation to the top of the range. And the next real target is we probably are going to be testing, and I'll kind of tell you what I think will like avoid this. But coming back into range low, I would look to hold a support. It's support until it's not. It's been critical support for the first half of 2021. If we come back and test this region again, again, if you're strictly trading the range, you will look for a support. Me personally, I'm not like setting bids here. So I'm not like laddering bids here because we could flush through this. But again, because it's been tested multiple times already, but I definitely am not like laddering bids in right here or anything. I would rather wait for reaction, even if I miss a few percent, to get like a better, a little bit more confirmation that we could see a continued bounce. I'd rather wait for that personally than try to nail try to like catch a bottom. I just don't think that's very intelligent. But anyway, so 28K, this is an area of interest. Obviously, if we continue lower, and this is why, very clean SR level. If we start to break below that, then I'll probably save this for the next video where I'm going to do a bit, higher time frame Bitcoin analysis. I'll share some levels that I'm looking at. If we do break the range low, that way, everybody's aware of it. But that's going to take me a lot of time to do it right now. So I will save that for like a high time frame update. What I would like, in my opinion, what needs to happen relatively soon. I'll say relatively soon, but like, if this were to happen soon, this is kind of like how I would view it. Basically, a reclaim of this value area low, getting back above, would be, that's like, this, in my opinion, is the first. This is like the first step for bulls. And we're already like pretty far away from that. But when you start to reclaim that, then we can start going level to level. And I'll kind of talk you through that right now, just so you can see basically how we approach, like how we got to these levels and why, as we were breaking supports to the downside, you were seeing these larger moves. So the first range is really here. And I'll probably go to 4 hours or something. But we had a very, so this was a month-long range. And it was a very clean range. You had, again, rotation to the upside, marked your range high. You had a very important range low support here. Basically 40,555 is about your range low. And then again, you just had really nice rotations. As you came up to challenge this range high here back at the end of December, right? Swing failure pattern of this high, basically taking all the stops out. Anybody, again, like if people were shorting on the way down, basically ran it up. And anybody who had their stop loss above here probably got taken out, because that's what people like to do. Put your stop like right above the high. So anytime you get like swing failure patterns like this, they're usually pretty good trades. And then flush down, back all the way down to your range low. Now this range EQ, this again, this is the equilibrium of your entire 2021 range. So this is a very macro high time frame look. You know, if you're looking again, year of price action, but even on lower time frames, it's pretty well respected as an SR level. I would say that. But again, swing failure pattern of the high sends price all the way back down to where? The bottom of the range. Look how many tests you have. And if you've seen my support resistance video, the more times that something gets tested, eventually it's very likely to, like, the more times it's tested, the higher probability that it gets to actually break that level, and that's what you got. But look how clean of an SR level this was. Really strong support before giving way and then coming down to form our next range. So I'm going to close this range so you can see that, and then take you to the next range that actually formed. Probably go down to an hourly because this range isn't as long as the previous one. But again, another beautiful range form. So come, you know, you get your flush down, marks your range high here. Price, you know, tried to do a little bit of a rebound here, couldn't, and then had another flush to the downside, which marks your range low. Couple of interesting things happen here, not to like get super crazy about it, but again, I think it's really helpful to talk about like how you approach price in the fashion that you did, because like you can see like all of the activity that took place that got you to where you are, right? So here, double bottom, anytime you see that, it's like danger zone. Don't like double bottoms because the odds of those lows getting ran are very high. And sure enough, had our double bottom, price pushed up off of that before coming down and giving you a beautiful swing failure pattern. So basically took both of these lows and then sent it the other direction, right? And even here, you had going on like lower time frames. That way I make sure to get this right. So even on this move, if you take a Fibonacci retracement from your low to your high, it came right back down to your golden pocket. Literally right down to your 618 golden pocket and a retest of your range low. So if you missed this long, right? If you missed, you know, if you were trying to tag an entry down here, even though it pushed higher, it gave you an entry, a very clean entry right here, basically retesting range low. But what confluence did you have? Golden pocket. Really nice confluence there. And sure enough, pushes you all the way to here. Sorry, kind of going all over the place. But again, this SFP, swing failure pattern, pushes up, back, retests your range low as support. Really nice buyback, but also into your golden pocket. Again, giving you really nice entry if you missed this, you know, if you missed a lower entry. Then comes up to the top of your range. And what do we see here? You're in VIP again. You should know this. This ends up being a deviation. So price gets above, right? And tries to hold your range high support. If this were to continue to hold a support, then naturally you would be looking up probably 45K towards the bottom side of that range that we went over earlier. Unfortunately for bulls, what happened? Well, you get acceptance back inside of your range high, and look at this candle, right? So big red candle sends you back inside the range. Next hourly candle comes up to test your range high and rejects this short trade. So you had a nice, really nice scalp trade, which, by the way, looking at your value areas, right? So using those as confluence, where did you come down to? The range point of control. Surprise, surprise. Finds support, pushes back up to the upside. Again, tries to get above your range high. Look how this candle closes. So again, approaches rejection, a little bit of a rejection, tries to push up, cannot sustain above the range high, and then moves down all the way to your value area low. There was also a golden pocket sitting here, by the way. I'm not going to draw it out because it's getting a little long. But again, comes to the value area low of your range, which if you're short from higher, this is always your point of control, value area low. Pretty good take profits for that scalp. As price pushes back up once again to your range high, cannot get above your range high resistance, and then game over. Very, very technically traded move. I know it looks like it just basically goes straight down, but there's so many trades to be had within this, and I know for a fact that there's quite a few VIPs who have done phenomenally well trading these ranges and trading this move down. So hats off to them. But again, this was a beautiful rejection off of here, get acceptance like here. So I'll even show this one to you because I think it's important. You even had this. I have to, there we go. Oh my, this is like pretty crazy. Sorry. So again, coming up into your range high, you lose your value area high, which again, you were holding as support, lose your value area high, come back up, reject off of it. What's sitting there? Oh, that's weird. Literally your golden pocket. So again, very technical. You had to test up into your range high. Price, and again, you were holding value area high, price comes up, rejects off your range high, lose value area high, price drops, comes back up, rejection right into your value area high, golden pocket, and then game over. So that's a breakdown of this range, which by the way, again, lose range low. So I'm going to get rid of this range, but you can see kind of how that was traded. And then you come into your macro range value area low, right? So this is again for all of 2021. So let me hide these now. Same thing. You come back down. Initially, you get a little bit of a bounce before losing it, coming back up pretty close to it, right? And again, these aren't exact levels. Like this is definitely a test. This is very close. But again, can't get back above it. And then it just rolls over really hard. And here we are. And by the way, dropping again, right? So like it just, this is like, you know, low volume weekend price action. There's not really a whole lot going on at the moment. I'm going to be way more interested myself once CMEs reopen tomorrow, we get closer to weekly close, that type of stuff. Like I think there's going to be a lot more going on. Until then, like I would definitely be careful of, you know, anybody who's trading this region, getting your stops ran. This is going to be some games that get played over the weekend. I think there is a possibility that we see lower over the weekend. I think it's possible. You know, maybe we get another stab down to, you know, take this low or something like that. I mean, again, if you're bullish, I hope not. But there's not much to like about what's happening right now, other than the fact that we are coming into, that we're getting relatively close to, let me delete this just so clean up my chart again. I already talked about all this. But again, so like range value or low, I don't remember if I went over this, but you can kind of see why it's important. Basically, like this is relevant to all of 2021. Like this has been a pretty nice SR level on its own. You know, even just going back to here, this is your, this is literally your May through August range. And, you know, as price comes back down, there's a ton of volatility. I think this was a 42% move off of the low. I mean, there was a lot of craziness going on. But if you really zoom in, once you kind of get the volatility out of the way, right? As price settles down a bit, look where you find resistance. So same thing, come back up, look where your candle closes, can't close back above here. Price gets pushed down, comes back up, perfect rejection off of here, just cannot reclaim that level. Price comes back up over here, what do you have? Another deviation, gets acceptance back below, rejection, push all the way back down to 28K, range low. So that's why this level is really important, and it's still important. Here, same thing, push back up above it, got a little bit ahead, little bit of a fake out here, but again, ultimately pushes back cleanly above your value area low and off to, you know, again, we had a really solid move. Come back in, where do you back test it? Range value area low, nice support, and then all-time high. So that's why breaking this level, excuse me, I had a 2.5 hour live stream today with the VIPs. I had a 2 hour live stream yesterday with the VIPs. So my voice is a little wrecked at the moment. So I apologize if I keep clearing my throat. But anyway, just here recently, your last test of your 2021 range value area low, that was very big support, right? And then again, nice support here really this was 40,700 level. But your initial test into the support region, and you literally make all-time highs. As price comes back in to test it, here's your test. You get a nice bounce off of that, relatively nice bounce considering what's happening now. And then the next time that you approach this, it's just a full breakdown. So all of that discussion about that, just to tell you why this level to me is important. And the really, looking at how Bitcoin is behaving at the moment, this is really the level that I would want to see reclaimed first, right? So like we need to see this value area low get pushed back above, get acceptance back above that. Don't want to see a deviation, something like that, like that's not something that I would want to see. But that's step one. And then all of the ranges, these two ranges that I showed you, all right? So these levels here that I just walked you through, all of that. This is step one. Step two would be to push back into this range, right? So let me delete this just for a second so you can see it. Get acceptance back into this range, start trading there. And then ultimately, if it can push above, let's say 44K, right? Start reclaiming these levels, that will look really good at that point, in my opinion, for a bit of a push higher, right? So like that would look good for probably, I would say, a pretty significant move higher. And obviously, again, it's like level to level, range to range. Breaking 52 would look really good for a move to 57, 58. Okay, so like, again, level to level. But we are obviously nowhere near that. So that's kind of irrelevant. That's kind of irrelevant at the moment. But I just wanted to tell you again, like it's basically level to level trading. And you have two very nice ranges. If Bitcoin makes a push back into this range, I would literally go back to trading it just like how I traded this range. Same levels. If we break up even higher and get acceptance back into this month-long range here, even better, because it gives me, again, more structure to trade the range, right? And it would start to look pretty good at that point. The problem is you have such a crazy downtrend here that like there really isn't a great lower high on higher time frames. So even if you are, like even if we get a really significant bounce, in the back of your mind, again, it's kind of thinking like, is this a lower high before we ultimately, test even lower levels? So anyway, that's how we got to where we are and why these levels to me are so important as we're pushing into these lower levels. Again, we have a CME gap that it seems rather likely, CMEs open up tomorrow afternoon for me. It seems rather likely that we're probably going to test into that, right? It seems like the odds are we're very close. We're going to see where we open up. And then obviously into Monday, do traditional markets continue? Like traditional markets had a pretty rough week. Even Friday close was rough. I was honestly looking for a bit of a bounce myself. Just couldn't get it. Couldn't even get that last hour, push into weekly close. Couldn't get anything. It was just really weak. So do we see continuation come Monday? And if we do, be prepared and don't be surprised if we do, again, probe some of these lower levels. But that's kind of like a brief overview of my Bitcoin trading plan to a degree. To the upside, like gave you the levels that I would want to see. Obviously, we were freshly breaking down over the last couple of days, so that's not really on my radar at the moment. But if we started to, get a bit of a bottom, form a bit of a range, and then start marching upwards, like this to me would probably be really big resistance at first. I would be very cautious around that. But again, if you start to push higher, get acceptance into, get acceptance above this, start trading within this range again, that type of stuff, then again, you have structure, right? But I think, again, what's more likely is what has been the trend. And unfortunately, the trend has very much been down and sideways to down, right? Literally down, range, down, range, down, range, down. Do we form another range before we drop even lower? The trend is, it is what it is. So that's Bitcoin. Again, range low, very, very critical level. So basically to the downside, obviously, that's a massively critical level of importance. There's obviously the CME gap. We actually tested into, I actually have 2 point of controls marked for this range, but I guess I can find it here. So this kind of like a lot going on. This is why I didn't want to do it. Let me see if I can clean. Can't really do that. Anyway, we're coming into some supports, right? Coming into some supports, and that are from trading this range here, coming into the point of control. Obviously, like if you zoom in, that's basically where we bounced from at the moment. If we start to lose this level, then your next region is really coming down around 32 to 33K. That's really your next region that you see down here. What's their CME gap? Okay, so like that seems a bit more probable at the moment. And again, the trend is very much brutal. It's very much to the downside. So that's kind of like, I mean, if I was wagering a guess, I do think that it's very likely that we probably push a bit lower. But those are the levels. And again, coming into range low, I would definitely be very aware of what's taking place around here. And if we start to break this structure, just be very careful because it could be like a really swift move down initially. I do think that, again, like there's some supports around here. I do think, again, like what I like about the range low, which I'll just show you. Show you this, which I think like this to me is a very, very, very big deal. But if you do a Fib pull, Fibonacci retracement from your 2020 coronavirus crash, right, where everything went to hell, you know, and then we literally have just been up only since then, right? Massive move, new all-time highs, that type of stuff. So like this is a major macro Fib pull that I'm doing right now. It is literally your 2020 low at 3K to your all-time high at 69K. Where does your 618 come in? That's strange. We're right at your range low. So this region here is a region of interest. Basically, it's like perfect alignment with your range low. And I like that because I think, again, like this adds a bit more validity to me that this is going to, you know, again, first touch into this, you probably are going to get a pretty nice bounce if I had to guess. But this also, again, the golden pocket is a couple $1,000 range, literally down to 26K. So maybe we, again, this kind of leads to more of the possibility that we could see, again, a wick into here, maybe take out this low by a couple $1,000 and then have a really strong push to the upside. If you see that again, that to me is a, like, not financial advice, obviously, but like that seems like a really decent area to potentially look for a long. And then below this, if you start to lose 26K, then I mean I'll save this for the next video. But let's say that your targets start to get quite a bit lower than where this is at. Delete this just for now. And yeah, that's BTC. So you know, on the lower time frames, see if there's anything happening. I mean, again, like it's starting to try to develop this range. It's the weekend. Things are going to be slower. I don't, you know, like I've taken a few trades around here myself, but this is definitely scalp territory. Quick in, quick out. You know, come in, try to extract some value out of the market and leave. Right? Like this isn't something where I'm trying to get long-term swing positions or anything like that at the moment. I prefer to let the market, you know, again, like show me that there's more of a reason to, again, look for longer term swing trades here. So that's just my opinion, especially like if you're trying to get long in this region. I would just be careful trying to time the bottom. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of really nice scalping that's happening, but again, it's just lower time frame stuff, nothing that's like super major. So that's Bitcoin. So as far as trading bots go, with which I know that there's probably quite a few people that's wondering about like how trading bots are. I am doing an update. I am working on one to kind of like go over, you know, I talk about trading bots every day in VIP obviously, but like I am gonna do a trading bot update as far as kind of like talking about what I'm like, how I view the market. And I've obviously, like I've shared that I've been running short bots since the beginning of this month to test them out for the community, you know, because I you know, like test out some different settings and whatnot and see what I like, see what I don't like. I mean, I've been running short bots for a long time, but they've been on Bitcoin and ETH. So, and those to me are different, right? If you're trying to find short bot settings and, you know, as far as 3 commas goes, where you actually hold the altcoin, like you hold the spot alts, and then you're just selling and trying to rebuy lower. Like to me, there's a much different strategy there as far as like those types of short bots go. So I am working on a not only an update as far as my bots go, and kind of like what my thoughts are looking at current price action and seeing where we're at. So I'm gonna like talk about my bots in depth and give you, and again, talk to you about my talk to you about again my viewpoint, talk about my portfolio, that type of stuff. So that's something that I'm working on. Hopefully that'll be done soon. And then at the same time, like I've actually started working on this already, and I'm really hoping to potentially have it done by the end of the weekend, depending how the market is. You know, obviously if there's a lot of trading to, you know, if there's a lot of trades that are happening, then, you know, I'll be doing a lot of trades. But I am hoping to have that video done really soon, because I think, you know, obviously I would have liked to have had that done a few weeks ago, looking back, considering what's been taking place, but better late than never. And, you know, I really, if you know me by now, I really like to have data. Like I like to have, you know, I don't just want to throw a video together and just be like, okay, here's what I think is likely to happen. Like I actually like to run it, put real money on the line, and see how they do. Are the bots performing like how I would think they would in these specific circumstances? That type of stuff, right? And like honestly, I'd really like to see, I would love to see a bounce somewhere out of this region just to see how like the short bots react as well. Like, does it work like how I, you know, envisioning it working? That being said, update coming. I know that a lot of community members are probably having, like, they're probably not enjoying what's happening. And the thing is, you know, if you zoom out on the chart, this isn't anything that we haven't seen before. When we had the May crash, it's the same. Like people felt exactly the same. I remember I was actually on vacation when this took place, and you know, it's the same thing. Like people are, you know, people are panicking, people are underwater, people are over leveraged, you know, like overextended on their bots, which is why like every single video I do, every update, I try to really preach risk management and like make sure that again, like you keep your risk in check. That way, if you have moves like this, that, you know, like you can be a bit more reactive versus being like 100% stuck, right? But again, like I'm sure that, you know, it's probably very similar to this move down. And when you have price action like this, by the way, when you basically, again, like you have a drop, some chop, drop, range bound, like this is hard. If if you're stuck in unfavorable deals on certain altcoins, for example, right? Like 1inch comes to mind because it had that crazy pump. So anybody running a 1inch bot, or I don't know why anybody would want to run a bot on SLP, but like SLP is another one that I've like seen a few people running. But the point is, like, when you have price action like this, it's not very forgiving, right? It's like when you have this initial drop, a lot of bot deals, like a lot of safety orders got filled, but then you had this pump that took everything out before ultimately like the real drop. And the thing is, at least for me, even on this crazy drop down, we had a 42.5% bounce off of the lows instantaneously, which closed a big majority of my deals here. So I didn't even have that many deals that were underwater, even back here in May. But if you look at this price action here, you see how different it is, right? It is very much down, sideways, down, sideways, down, sideways. You get the point. Like there hasn't been like a real relief rally yet to, you know, again, like help those deals get taken, like help the take profits getting hit, especially on this last leg down. All right, so this range here, this push up into here, swing failure pattern, that type of stuff. You know, like a lot of alt deals were closing for me still, but this price action is rather unforgiving. So that's what I'll say. And again, if we do come lower, pretty fair probability that alts are going to drop even more. Okay, so be prepared for that. But I will discuss that more in the video update again, because this video is probably getting a bit long at the moment. But I will, again, you know, talk about that. And, you know, I'll probably do a live stream soon, or some kind of stream, maybe for the Discord, if enough people are interested. And, you know, again, like try to offer up help wherever I can. So like if people have deals that they're stuck in, they're not entirely sure, you know, like how to approach that, I do that VIP all the time. So like we're you know, anybody who has, we did that today a little bit, but like anybody who has questions about that, obviously we go through and assess it right away. And the community is phenomenal at helping out as well. But you know, that's probably something that if, you know, like that's something that we can look at and look at some altcoin charts. Again, I kind of want to see like what altcoins people are interested in and pull up the chart and see like where's the next support resistance, that type of stuff, and like where's your take profit. So this is, so I will say this before, if you're somewhat comfortable with technical analysis, right? If you are, use the chart. And if you're able to identify support resistance, that type of stuff, like look at where your take profit is and see where it aligns. Like, is your take profit hiding behind a major massive resistance? If it is, and you don't have any safety orders yet, or like if you don't have any safety orders left, I mean, then like that's probably the one where if you're looking to, you know, add, you know, an extra safety or a manual safety order or something of the sort, like I would prioritize those bots over some of the others, for example. You know, stuff like that. But like that's all stuff that I think like a stream like that could be really beneficial. It's a lot of, I mean, it's fun for me to do it, but obviously like if the community is getting some kind of benefit out of that, if there's enough interest, I'm happy to do it. But anyway, I went over Bitcoin and kind of like what's on the table as far as literally where we're at today. And you can see even right now, this pushed down and there's no bounce. There's no real bounce. It's the weekend though. See how CMEs open up on Sunday, but I would just say be very careful, especially if you're trading this and people trying to long all the way down. Like, be very, very, very careful, because for myself, I haven't really seen any significant information that tells me that we're close to it, or that we're really close to a bottom. I'm not seeing the things that I want to see yet. But again, if that changes, do another video update and we'll go from there. With that being said, see you on the next one.